Welcome to Lecture 3, that is Chapter 3 of Economic Survey of India, Volume 1. This chapter has been titled, Does India's Sovereign Credit Rating Reflects its Fundamentals? That is, the credit rating which India is getting from various credit rating agencies. Is it reflecting our fundamentals, our GDP growth, our inflation, our foreign exchange reserves? Is it reflecting that we are doing very well in all those areas? Is our credit rating good enough? This is something that is this is something that we are going to discuss in this chapter. Okay, so before we get into that, let us start with fundamentals of what is credit rating. Okay, now in order to understand credit rating, so first you must know what credit is. Now when I take a loan from bank, I've basically taken a credit. When you borrow some money from me, you have taken a credit. So credit in a way is a loan. Okay, so this is something that can be taken by an individual. This is something that can be taken by an organization. Like Level Up IAS may take loan from bank, that's credit from bank that we have taken. I may use my credit card. I do not have the money. I have used credit card. There, I have basically borrowed money from the bank for a period of 1 month. Or this credit can be taken by the country, by the government of India. Okay, this is credit. And when we use the term credit rating, what does it mean? It basically means that the loan that you have taken, credit rating signifies, if you have your credit rating is high, it would signify that the loan that you have taken, you'll be able to return it easily. If your credit rating is very low, it will signify that the person, the organization or the country which has taken the loan may not be in a position to return it back. So basically, let's say I've taken a loan of 1 crore rupees. When I take this loan, my income, let's say, is 1 crore rupees a year. If this is my income and I do not have any other credit pending, will in 10 years I be able to return this loan? Yes. So with this income, this loan will be given high credit. But suppose someone has got 1 crore rupees of loan, but the business did not do well and this person is not earning anything. For that person, for that loan, the credit rating would be very less. In the same way, when we are talking about credit rating for the country, so when we give credit rating for the country, it is called sovereign credit rating. Credit rating. So a country which has taken loan will have high credit rating if its economy is doing very well, if it has high foreign exchange reserves, if its fundamental macroeconomic fundamentals, inflation is in control, employment is good, fiscal deficit is good, that is low, then that country will have high credit rating. The country should have high credit rating. If the country has a history of always paying their debts, of always returning the credit, then it should have high rating. If the country has good income, then it should have high rating. If the economy of the country is not doing well, the country's credit rating will deteriorate, because if economy is not doing well, the chances that this country would be able to pay back its loans would be less. Okay, so I hope you've understood what credit is and what credit rating is. Now, let's go back to the discussion that we were having here. You've understood what credit rating is. Credit rating agencies are basically organizations, companies which give this rating. So there are various national level credit rating agencies, but here we basically want to discuss the big three credit rating agencies: Standard & Poor, S&P, Moody's and Fitch Group. But otherwise, other than this, you will see at the national level there are many credit rating agencies which give credit to various companies, various organizations for the loans that they are taking. But here our discussion would be about these three big credit rating agencies. These credit rating agencies, other than giving credit rating to organizations, also give credit rating to countries, which is called sovereign credit ratings. Now, if you come here, you'll basically understand the various ways in which credit rating could be given. For example, so a country is in a very good situation. It has this country will definitely be able to return back their loan. In that situation, highest quality credit rating is given. The rating is AAA by Fitch and S&P, and by Moody it is a small a. In this way, you will see that the worst rating is the D. If the country is towards bankruptcy, this country would definitely not be able to return back its loan. Then they are given very poor credits. Okay, there's this level here, which is important. This adequate payment capacity. This is called threshold rating. Because below this, a country's credit rating is considered to be speculative. That is, it is in some kind of trouble. There are chances that it may not be able to return back its loan. Whereas above it, if a country has got, if an organization has got rating above it, it means the credit rating agencies are saying that you can give loan to this country, you can invest in this country because this country would be able to give your money back. So below it, the rating is called speculative. Above it, the rating is called investment grade. I've tried to explain you this because some of the figures, some of the charts that we will look at would be focusing on this thing. Now, you've understood what is credit, what is credit rating. The three big credit rating agencies, the big three credit rating agencies, the Standard & Poor's, Moody's, Fitch Group, and different ratings which they have. We do not have to remember all these ratings, just having an idea. Now tomorrow, if you read in newspaper article that India's credit rating has been deteriorated to BBB minus, you would understand that the Fitch or S&P have degraded India's rating from BBB to BBB minus. That is, the chance that India will be able to return back its loan, that rating has been deteriorated. This is it. Okay, so these were the fundamental things. Now come to the issue. This chapter of Economic Survey of India is discussing that credit ratings which are being given to India is biased. We should have higher credit rating than what has been given to us. Our credit rating should not be as low as it is today. Our fundamentals are strong, our macroeconomic indices are strong, and we have never defaulted, so our credit rating should be high. Not only is Economic Survey of India saying this, that India's credit rating should be high. Economic Survey of India is saying that generally against developing low credit rating countries, the countries which are right now at the lower strata in credit rating and which are developing, against them a bias has been shown by these credit rating agencies. This is what Economic Survey of India is arguing here. For example, it will tell you that if you look at the credit ratings of the fifth biggest economy in the world, it has always been high. You will see that it has remained AAA, AAA. That is among the higher side. But when China became the fifth biggest credit rating agency, suddenly number was low. So generally the fifth largest economy in the world have had very high credit rating agency. But the moment a developing country like China, in 2005, China became the fifth largest economy in the world, its credit rating was very low. Similarly, in 2019, India became the fifth largest economy in the world. The credit rating was very high, was very low. So what we are saying here is that never in history has the fifth largest economy in the world rated a BBB minus. Since 1994, only times the sovereign credit rating of fifth largest economy in current US dollar term has been precipitously declined. It has been when emerging giants like India and China have become the fifth largest economy. It is showing the bias. Similarly, when we consider the national income in terms of PPP, purchasing power parity, you would see that China came in top 3 in this period. Around 94 to 98 period, China was the third largest economy in the world in terms of PPP. India became the third largest economy in the world in 2019, India became the third largest economy in terms of PPP. So here also, only time the sovereign credit rating of third largest economy in PPP terms have steeply declined. It has happened when emerging giants like India and China were there. So generally we say that if a country has a very large economy, the country is earning a lot of money. The government is earning a lot of taxes. If the economy is so large, it itself is a proof that this economy, this country would be able to return back you your money. But when other countries, when advanced economies were having large size economy, they were given high rating. But when developing countries like China and India became fifth largest economy or third largest economy in terms of PPP, our credit rating was still low, indicating a bias. Not only this, there are other factors also because of which we are saying that this bias exists. Now, before we get into those factors, we'll try to understand how India's credit rating has varied. If you look at India's credit rating by S&P, Moody, Fitch, it was in the speculative category. See, in all these periods, in all these things, all these are speculative rating. India was not given a very high rating. India came to the non-speculative investment grade only in January 2007 by S&P. It was brought into the investment grade. In Moody brought it in investment grade in 2004, and Fitch brought it in investment grade in 2006. Before this, India was considered in the speculative category. That is, investing in India was risky. In spite of the fact that India's economic growth was very good. In fact, but the good thing is, in 1990s, generally our credit rating improved other than after the Pokhran test. After Pokhran test, a number of economic sanctions were imposed by Western countries on India, and therefore you would see that sometimes deterioration happened. In 98, some deterioration may have happened. The red color is showing you deterioration, black is showing you they started rating India then, and green is showing improvement. So from BA2 star you come to BA1 star, improvement. From there you come to BA3, the next level altogether, it's improvement. So during the Pokhran test, or after the Pokhran test, our credit rating has deteriorated. So we're saying that anomaly in sovereign credit rating has continued for India. That is, this anomaly doesn't exist only now. This anomaly has always been there. India's downgrade during 1998 to 2018 were mainly confined to 1990s when Pokhran test happened. India's upgrade have mainly been witnessed in the first half of 2000. That is, you would see that upgrade that is happening, this upgrade, all this is in the first half of 2000s, where our economy was growing at a very high rate. Other than that, before this, our rating was in speculative category in spite of the fact that our economic growth was high. Now, does India's sovereign rating reflect our fundamentals? Like, this is what is the title of the chapter. The credit rating that we have remained on the borders of either we have been speculative or just above speculative in the investment grade. Our credit rating has never been like very high. We have never been on the top. In spite of the fact that we have been among the fastest growing economy, we are among the largest economy in the world. We have never defaulted on our loans. Our fiscal deficit is in control. Our inflation is in control. Other aspects, like everyone is coming to India for investing. Despite all this, our credit rating has remained low. What is the reason? Now, before getting into those reasons, or before understanding the bias, it's not only about India. Here we are saying that the Economic Survey of India has done a lot of study of various research. It has quoted a number of research papers to show that there's a bias and subjectivity in sovereign credit rating against countries with lower rating. Countries which have lower rating, India is also having lower ratings. There's a bias and subjectivity by credit rating agencies against these countries. For example, this bias or this problem in the credit rating system could be understood by something like this. For example, the sovereign credit rating mechanism were not able to predict. What was it not able to predict? It was not able to predict the Asian crisis, East Asian crisis in late 1990s. It means that credit rating was not working effectively, else they would have predicted it. And after the crisis occurred, they became excessively conservative, and they deteriorated the rating of those countries much more than what should have happened. They became highly biased against them. Similarly, there is also evidence of pro-cyclicality. What is evidence of pro-cyclicality? If there would be recession, the rating of developing countries would be reduced. If there would be growth, the rating would be increased. This doesn't make sense. Pro-cyclicity should not be there. The rating should not be reactive. The rating should be predictive. It should predict, okay, something is going wrong. But here it's reactive. Similarly, there's a evidence of bias for developed economies. Developed economies generally get higher ratings regardless of their macroeconomic fundamentals. India's macroeconomic fundamentals are very good, but even then we don't get high ratings, whereas developed countries do get that. Then there is subjective component in the rating mechanism. The credit rating agencies give credit rating based on certain objective criteria where measurement could be done, and then there are some various subjective criteria, and those subjective criteria are definitely highly biased against developing countries. Then there's a lot of opacity and subjectivity. Subjectivity you have understood, there's also a lot of opacity. They do not clearly explain why a particular kind of rating has been given. They do not give you all the parameters. And then there is a home bias. What is meant by home bias? In my home country, USA, I'll give higher rating. In those countries which are culturally, linguistically, racially similar to mine, I'll give higher rating. This bias also exists. And therefore, when Economic Survey of India has done studies regarding India's sovereign credit rating compared to other countries with respect to our various indicators, we have found that India has always been on the lower side. For example, when Economic Survey of India have done study based on, let's say, GDP growth rate, you would see, I'll make you understand here. What Economic Survey of India did, it GDP growth, rate of GDP growth, and it pointed number of countries. This country has this GDP growth, this country has this GDP growth. Sorry, this is GDP growth, the countries, their GDP growth and their credit rating. Credit rating. Generally, it was seen that with improved GDP, credit rating was improving. This was the rough pattern. But India was a negative outlier. In spite of the fact that India's GDP growth rate was high, India's credit rating was low. India was a negative outlier. And this was not only seen in the case of GDP growth. This India being a negative outlier was seen in case of inflation. Like our inflation was in control, but still India had lower rating. India has lower rating. In case of cyclically adjusted primary balance, this is basically your primary deficit. Then your current account balance, your investor protection, your political stability, government effectiveness, rule of law, control of corruptions. As all these things are improving, generally the credit ratings have gone up. But in case of India, India has been a negative outlier. That is, rather than showing an increase, rather than being average, India has been on the negative side of the graph. India has been on the lower side. India's credit rating has been lower. This is not only for the current scenario, even in the past. Economic Survey of India have done its study, have shown a lot of graph and are showing even in the past, India's sovereign credit rating has seen exactly the same bias. That is, in spite of good and improving fundamentals, the credit rating did not improve. Okay, now, first thing that we said is India's credit rating reflecting our fundamentals. No, it's not. Our credit rating is low, whereas our fundamentals are high. In the same way, Is India's credit rating reflecting our willingness to pay? Willingness and ability to pay. We have willingness to pay. We have always paid our debt. We have never defaulted. We have the ability to pay. But still our credit rating is low. That's why we'll say that our credit rating is not reflecting our willingness to pay and our ability to pay. So, how are we saying that India is highly willing to pay? Because there is zero sovereign default history for India. India has never defaulted. And in the same way, there are a number of countries which have defaulted in the past, but because India has never defaulted, even in terms of number of years since last default, we are very good. Then there are other factors because of which we say that we have ability to pay. We have extremely low foreign currency denominated debt. Our debt is mostly domestic. Our debt is mostly denominated in rupee. Very few loans are there which are denominated in foreign currency. Then our foreign exchange reserves are very high. They're more than $500 billion. Our foreign exchange reserves are so much that it will be able to pay back all the short-term debt of private sector as well as entire stock of India's sovereign and non-sovereign external debt. It is so large. In corporate sense, like when we consider this situation in corporate sector, let's say there's a company, Reliance Industries. If its reserves are much more than its short-term debt, then we say that this company has negative debt and there is zero probability that it will default. It should get very high rating, but India still has very low rating. India in a way has zero probability of default, but India still has very low rating. Then very small sovereign external debt is there. Only 4% of the GDP as of September 2020. Like our external debt is only equivalent to 4% of the GDP. Then 54% of our external foreign currency denominated debt are owned by multilaterals and IMF. And they loan from IMF or loan from multilateral agencies do not impact credit rating. So this should again not be a concern. All these things are showing that we have ability to pay. We have the ability to pay. We have willingness to pay. So is our credit rating reflecting our ability to pay and our willingness to pay? No, that's what we are saying here. India's sovereign credit rating don't reflect its willingness and ability to pay. Now let's go to how has sovereign credit rating changes or changes in sovereign credit rating impacted various factors like Sensex return, exchange rate, government security yield, FPI flow. How has this been impacted? If our credit rating has been downgraded between 1998 and 2018, I'm sorry, whenever our credit rating was downgraded, how has Sensex return been impacted? You would see in long term, Sensex return have been positive. In the same way, exchange rate have not had a lot of long-term negative impact. Government security yield has also not been impacted much. What has been impacted is the FPI flow. If credit rating downgrades have happened, our FPI flow has been negatively hampered. In the same way, when our upgrades have taken place, when credit rating upgrades have taken place, Sensex return have improved, exchange rate they have deteriorated, but not that big a concern, not that much, and FPI flow has increased a lot. So what we see here is, in case of credit rating downgrade and in case of credit rating upgrade, what is being impacted? It is the foreign portfolio investment which is being impacted a lot. Other factors are not varying a lot. Okay, now we will talk about how threshold sovereign credit rating changes have impacted Sensex return, exchange rate, government securities, FPI flows, etc. Now, what is meant by threshold sovereign credit rating change? See, credit rating change can also be from AAA to AAA minus, but threshold credit rating means from investment grade to speculative grade. That threshold, if we have moved to investment grade or we have come to credit, the speculative grade. In that case, in case of downgrade, again, not a lot of impact on Sensex exchange and all those things are happening. A lot of impact you see is on FPI flows. In fact, in equity, in 5-year FPI flow has reduced by 49%. So again, FPI flow is something that is getting impacted. In the same way, by upgrade, what will get impacted a lot? It will be the FPI flow, which is getting impacted a lot. Not a lot of impact on Sensex return, exchange rate or government security yield is being seen. At the same time, when we look at our macroeconomic indicators, there's a very weak or no correlation between our credit rating and macroeconomic indicators. These macroeconomic indicators include GDP growth, fiscal deficit, general government debt, overall debt, consumer price index, current account deficit. If we consider all these things, generally what should have happened? With increase in GDP growth rate, rating should have improved, or with improvement in fiscal deficit, that is reduction in fiscal deficit, our credit rating should have gone up. Our general government debt, if it was reducing as a percentage of our GDP, then our credit rating should have gone up. But when we look at all these things, we do not find any correlation. In fact, Economic Survey of India has shown you this image. Here what they're saying, they have taken an average of all the macroeconomic indicators. And this year is representing the year in which our credit rating was downgraded. Now see, average of all our indicators improved from previous year to this year, but still our credit rating was downgraded. After downgrade, next year there is further improvement, but still our credit rating was downgraded. In the same way, look at the upgrade. In the year of upgrade, a year before and a year after, correlation is not there. Similarly, in case of average of threshold downgrade, that is when your downgrade in the year where downgrade was from investment grade to speculative grade. One level to another level is okay. Investment grade to speculative grade. There, our performance in the year of downgrade is better than previous year, and next year performance is same. In the same way, when average of threshold upgrade is taking place, there is not much change in all these indicators. What is this saying? Changes in our macroeconomic indicators is not being reflected in our credit rating. Our credit rating is not way, sovereign credit rating in no way is able to incorporate our amazing performance. Again saying that the credit rating mechanism which those big three and other international credit rating agencies may be using is not up to the mark and is not giving us the right credit that we deserve, right credit rating that we deserve. Okay, so what should be the way forward for us? First of all, the conclusion that our credit rating doesn't reflect our fundamentals. Our fundamentals are strong, our GDP growth rate is strong, and everything, like forget the COVID-19 crisis. This is an exceptional year. But otherwise, our fundamentals are strong, our credit rating is not displaying that. Therefore, there's not only is it not displaying, there's a systematic underassessment. We are doing very well, but still our credit rating is not high enough. And therefore, we are saying Economic Survey of India is recommending that our fiscal policy must not be constrained by those ratings. Our fiscal policy should focus on growth. Jaise Gurudev Rabindranath had said, Gurudev Rabindranath's sentiment of mind without fear. In the same way, India's fiscal policy should be guided by growth and development rather than being in fear or being restrained by biased and subjective sovereign credit ratings. Do not worry about sovereign credit rating, focus on development and growth. But at the same time, we know that credit ratings have impacted our FPIs, and foreign portfolio investments are also important. There may be some other things which India getting poor credit rating may be impacting. Therefore, we also, while we need to ignore the current low ratings and keep working towards growth and development, at the same time, we also need to ensure that the methodologies are amended. We cannot continue with, okay, let them give us poor rating. No, we do not deserve poor rating, we should get better rating. And therefore, we need to bring changes in the credit rating mechanism. It should reflect our willingness, our ability to pay, our macroeconomic stability, and it should become more transparent and less subjective. For this, India is not the only country which is facing this problem. Generally, there is a bias against developing economies. So, developing economies need to come together to address this bias by credit rating agencies, because these things can, in a certain situation, exacerbate our problems. Our economy may be doing well, but at the time of recession, if they downgrade our rating, what would happen? FPI would start flowing out. This may negatively hamper us. In the same way, the pro-cyclical nature. This is pro-cyclical nature. Recession is happening, they'll reduce our rating. This is something that is harmful, that should be avoided. So India has already raised this issue on a number of forums, especially in G20 meeting recently. India had raised this issue. This issue needs to be expeditiously dealt with. The reform have to be fast in order to deal with the little problems that those are facing. These credit ratings are causing. This could be dealt with in an effective manner. Okay, so this was third chapter. I'm sorry for the hiccups that I had in the beginning, in the middle of the lecture. Tomorrow we'll be discussing the fourth chapter on Economic Survey of India. I have not given any questions here because in the two previous videos I had given questions and none of you had answered it. So try to write an answer in the YouTube comments. Once you do it, I'll start giving more questions here. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow with chapter 4 of Economic Survey of India, volume 1. Thank you.